Hello and happy Friday. It is A.J. Wuest welcoming you back to Before the Four, where I take you through and talk about 48's top news stories and then some before our 4 o'clock newscast. If you are watching right now, whether it's on Facebook, YouTube, or the 48 Now live stream page on our digital app and website, I of course want to thank you for watching and spending a little of your Friday afternoon with me here. Anything fun planned this weekend? That is what I want to know. So feel free to comment on Facebook or YouTube any of your weekend plans. I can see so if you do right here. And if you don't have any plans this weekend, you're definitely gonna want to stick around for the end of today's Before the Four, because I have some super fun and cheap ideas of some different things you can do with the entire family this weekend. But remember, today is a 48 first alert weather day due to high heat index and storms moving into the area this afternoon and tomorrow morning. So make sure you're staying safe out there and make sure to tune in to the latest forecast from Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis. And if you haven't done so already, make sure you download the 48 First Alert weather app for the latest weather news and radar in your area. But with all of that now out of the way, let's now jump in to today's top stories. And starting things off in Decatur, where a firefighter was recently demoted to the lowest rank for alleged use of inappropriate language while responding to a call. A hearing today for Decatur firefighter Kevin Jackson. Jackson and his team are currently arguing that he was targeted by Mayor Tab Bowling for his vocal support of the Perkins family and not for his use of inappropriate language. 48's Daquan Lee has been in Decatur all day today attending the hearing, and he's learning as much as he can about this situation. So he'll have updates for you all coming up at 4. In DeKalb and Jackson counties, 48 Savannah SAP will be reporting on a water shortage in the area. Firefighters are currently asking residents to access ponds and creeks on their private property to fill up their tanks, while the local board deals with the shortage of usable hydrants. Firefighters need to make sure they have enough water in case a fire does decide it wants to break out. Savannah has been speaking with both Jackson and DeKalb County firefighters today, and make sure you get the latest from them coming up in our evening newscasts. In Huntsville, this morning a judge denied youthful offender status for a Huntsville murder suspect. Jerry Ingram, who you are currently seeing on screen, is accused of shooting and killing Jalen Hill. Investigators say the shooting happened on Pratt Avenue back in September of 2022. Ingram was 18 years old at the time. Officials say both he and Hill were visiting a friend before the shooting. Police didn't say what caused the shooting, but his trial is now expected to start on October 21st. Back to Morgan County, where the district attorney says he wants to expand the truancy program started by Decatur City Schools and into the county. The Helping Families Initiative works with 23 local agencies and organizations. District Attorney Scott Anderson told our news partners at the Decatur Daily he modeled the program after a similar one in Mobile County. The program has helped students who were missing school because of things such as poor home life or mental health issues. The Morgan County School Board will consider this expansion at its September 5th meeting. Now, some stories you may have missed. It is the City of Guntersville's Pride and Joy, that awesome annual summer event that features extremely fast speedboats on Lake Guntersville. Of course, I am speaking about the one and only HydroFest. But this past year's event saw a loss of over $80,000 due to lack of sponsorships and ticket sales. But what does the future look like for that annual speedy event? 48 Savannah SAP reports.
We have not made an announcement about 25. That's Marshall County Tourism and Sports President Katie Norton addressing the Guntersville City Council on Monday. She says this year's event cost $486,000, but tourism and sports were only able to make about $400,000. Mayor Lee Dollar says the event likely didn't make as much money for two reasons.
The two primary reasons were sponsorships. There were fewer corporate sponsorships this year, and also the gate money wasn't as much.
City leaders believe the hot and stormy weather leading up to the races likely kept people away. Mayor Dollar says this year's event still gave a nearly $2 million boost to the local economy through hotel and restaurant business. The City Council decided to give Marshall County Tourism and Sports $40,000 from the city's tourism fund to help with the expenses as they regroup for next year's race.
I hope they look at some other options and ways to save money, ways to, get more sponsorships, so that we can make it a reality, because boat racing has such a long history in Guntersville and it's part of who we are. So it's important for us to have, but at the same time it's going to pay for itself.
Well, thank you, Savannah. And staying in Marshall County, where a dog deemed to be vicious was recently shot down by authorities. But the dog's owners questioned just how vicious their dog actually was. 48's Callie Neese has this story.
Saturday, Boaz police were called when that dog got on another person's property. A woman called police saying the dog was acting very aggressive toward her and her young son. Police got on the scene and they used pepper spray and other means to stop that aggressive behavior. One of the owners of the dog, Christopher Rice, said in the police video, you can't see them pepper spray the dog, but
in the video you can see where the dog sat down from probably about 10 foot away, sat down, and when the officer turned around and looked at the dog barked. And then that's when he pulled his gun out and fired a shot. The dog went to the ground, and then he fired 3 more shots on the dog.
The Rice family told me they thought that this force was excessive, but they are not mad at the neighbors for calling the police. They add that they are heartbroken that they had to bury their furry friend.
He was like a family member to us. Nobody really understands how that dog was. That dog was the sweetest dog you'd ever meet. We've had multiple people come over to this house while we was gone to check on him that the dog didn't know, and he let them right in. They'd go feed him. He'd love on them, and I couldn't see that dog being aggressive.
All right, thank you, Callie. Now out in the shoals, a super sweet story you may have missed. A life-saving procedure. That is what one Sheffield second grader is making as he prepares to donate his very own bone marrow to his little sister. 48's Aria Pons with the details.
It's not every day that the perfect match for a bone marrow transplant ends up being your very own superhero, your big brother. But for 4-year-old Addie, that's exactly what it is. A bond unlike any other.
Who's your favorite person?
This brother and sister duo normally spend their days playing around while Addie attends preschool. Austin goes to Threadgill Primary School in Sheffield.
They're inseparable. She gets on his nerves, but her big brother is her world. She does what he does.
Their mother, Autumn Dickerson, says they've always been this close, but next month they're about to get even closer.
My bone marrow. He's going to give you bone marrow.
In 2020, Addie was diagnosed with sickle cell anemia, but when she turned 1, the family found out Austin is a perfect match to help cure her with a bone marrow transplant.
It's just something amazing.
I think it's going to be a big thing.
Their mother says sickle cell is a disease that attacks your red blood cells. They end up in the shape of a sickle instead of a circle. That can lead them to getting bundled up and caught in the veins, causing extreme pain and some physical issues.
I don't think he knows it to the fullest extent. I don't. I know he knows that it's important, but I don't know that if he realizes that it's life-changing.
Dickerson says that more attention needs to be brought to the disease.
If we are doing anything, we just hope that we're just bringing awareness to the disease and that it's there. And if you're able to be a donor, if you're able to help the Sickle Cell Foundation, please do.
The transplant is expected to take place next month, actually during Sickle Cell Awareness Month. This transplant has been about 4 years in the making. Reporting in Sheffield, Aria Pons, 48 on your side.
Well, how sweet. Thank you, Aria. Now in some state news, down in Mobile, where there is currently an outbreak of army worms seeking to destroy crops in the region. And it's not just Mobile, as officials say they're all over the state. WALA's Natalie Williamson has this story.
These fall armyworms might look small, but according to Alabama Extension, they are mighty. Hence the name Army. These worms work together and can destroy an entire field of crops in a single day. Jacob Kelly, Regional Extension Agent for Alabama Extension, says the increase of temperatures has caused these critters to multiply faster.
The armyworms have kind of gotten a leg up. They prefer a drier environment, so when we get these micro droughts that last 2, 3, 4 weeks, that really encourages them to reproduce a lot, and they've got really good habitat during those dry periods to reproduce.
Kelly says the Mobile area will start seeing these worms on turf grasses as early as April, if we have a warm spring. The fall armyworms will camp out until September or October before a winter kill. In the meantime, local farmers like Jeremy Sessions with Sessions Farm tells me these pests are a constant battle.
We in these fields almost daily, scouting and looking and trying to keep an eye out for these problems, and we do a lot of preventative maintenance rather than, like I said earlier, having to react to a problem.
Kelly says mingling with your plants can keep them safe from these tiny worms.
The best time to look for them is going to be early in the morning and late in the day.
Well, thank you, Natalie. And now in some national politics, former President Trump held a news conference yesterday at his home in Bedminster, New Jersey, saying he won't follow the advice of allies who want him to dial back his attacks. NBC's Garrett Hake has the latest.
You'll be okay if you have the right president. You have the wrong president, like her, honestly, you don't have a chance.
Overnight, Donald Trump speaking at a fighting anti-Semitism event, saying Jewish Americans should vote Republican and discussing his efforts to define Vice President Harris.
This is a radical left lunatic that we have running for office, and I'm trying to brand her as such because if I don't, they get a lot of support.
At his home in Bedminster, New Jersey, where earlier the former president hammered Harris on the economy.
You don't have to imagine what a Kamala Harris presidency would be, because you're living through that nightmare right now.
The former president not shying away from personal attacks, despite Republican allies in recent weeks urging him to stop them.
I think I'm entitled to personal attacks. I don't have a lot of respect for her. I don't have a lot of respect for her intelligence, and I think she'll be a terrible president. Some people say, oh, why don't you be nice? But they're not nice to me. They want to put me in prison.
Responding directly to criticism from former primary opponent Nikki Haley, who said he can't win this way.
I think that we're hitting a nerve. I think I appreciate her advice. I have to do it my way.
The Harris campaign saying the press conference included Trump's, quote, usual lies and delusions. The former president also spent time recounting how he survived last month's assassination attempt.
It's a miracle, and God had something to do with it. And maybe it's we want to save the world. This world is going down. This world is going down.
This, as NBC News has learned from two sources familiar with the planning, that the Secret Service will start using bullet-resistant glass to protect Trump so he can resume outdoor rallies. That ballistic glass is already available to President Biden and Vice President Harris.
Thank you, Garrett. On the other side of the political aisle, with some polls showing Vice President Kamala Harris with a narrow lead over Trump, Democrats are hoping to keep their momentum going at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago next week. Gray TV's White House correspondent John Decker has this preview.
Democrats have been energized since Vice President Harris became the Democratic presidential nominee. At the DNC in Chicago, the Harris campaign hoping for a post-convention boost and a unified Democratic Party. Opening night of the convention will feature a primetime address by President Biden, in which he'll tout his legislative accomplishments during his 3.5 years in office, touching on why he picked Harris to take his place on the ballot.
I do think that he will probably lean into that passing the torch message, and especially because he was able to so successfully anoint his own vice president, Kamala Harris, someone that he picked back in 2020 as the next nominee.
Chicago's own former President Barack Obama tapped as the featured speaker for Tuesday night. He's hoping that Harris can replicate the coalition of racial minorities, women, and young voters that helped elect him president twice.
There are a lot of similarities, of course, but ultimately, I think Harris's most successful coalition is going to resemble Biden's 2020 coalition a lot more than it did Obama's coalition in 2008.
Wednesday night, former President Bill Clinton is set to introduce Harris's vice presidential running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Most voters are not familiar with Walz, and this primetime speech will introduce him to the public. Thursday, the final night of the DNC, culminates in Vice President Harris's acceptance speech, spelling out how she will govern if she wins in November.
This is the thing that, if there's been anything lacking from Harris's rollout so far, it's that she hasn't really nailed down specifics of what she's going to do as president beyond defeating Trump and ensuring freedom, reproductive health, and a few other kind of big ticket items. She hasn't really talked about what her more specific goals are as president, both foreign and domestic.
Democrats hope to get a bounce in battleground state polling after 4 days of this political pep rally. They're also hoping to keep the momentum going on the fundraising front as both campaigns gear up for the final stretch of the election. For Local News Live at the White House, I'm John Decker.
Well, thank you, John. Now, you are probably thinking right now, it's Friday. I guess I need to think of something fun to do this weekend. And as promised earlier, don't worry, because I got you covered. If you're looking for something to do this weekend here in the Tennessee Valley, one of the things you can do, especially if you live on the northwest or Shoals side of the state, the Franklin County Watermelon Festival is coming back to Russellville. It's only been going on for 30 years now, and it certainly seems like it's more than just watermelons. A few days ago, I spoke with Cassie Medley with the Franklin County Chamber of Commerce, and she shared what she loves most about the annual festival in the watermelon capital of Alabama.
Watermelons first, because we do give away free slices, and though that happens 3 different times during the weekend. Friday night, whenever entertainment kicks off, around 6:30, we will have a ceremonial cutting of the first watermelon and then pass out slices. And then we'll also have on Saturday free watermelon slices from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in the park behind Russellville First Baptist Church. And then again Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Before the live entertainment begins. So that's on the free watermelon side of things. And then as far as the other things going on, there are all kinds of big variety of vendors.
Well, super sweet. And another thing you can do, this time if you live closer to Huntsville, the End Addiction Walk, presented by Not One More Alabama. 48's own Haley Baker will be the keynote speaker at tomorrow's free event, which will happen at Big Spring Park from 9 to 11 a.m. Yesterday, I spoke with Not One More Alabama Family Program Coordinator. Her name was Kim Holder, as she shared how she got involved with the organization. Take a listen. A little about how you got involved with Not One More Alabama.
Sure, AJ. I was in the grips of substance use disorder probably from the time I was in high school. In my later life, the consequences of my drinking became more and more evident to everybody around me, but even then I still couldn't see it. What happened for me was once I realized I had a problem, I didn't know what to do about it. And for a long time, I surrounded myself with people who didn't know how to help me do anything about it. Through a series of circumstances, most of them unfortunate, I became willing to accept some help. And so I made some connections that saved my life. I made a connection to get help medically. Then I went on to get help mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. And today I stay connected to individuals like myself who live one day at a time, recovering out loud, so that others don't have to suffer in silence.
Yes, very powerful stuff right there. Thank you so much for sharing, Kim. And let's say after the walk, you still have an abundance of energy and want to burn off some calories by cheering on Huntsville's soccer team and maybe run into a few lightsaber fights along the way. For the very first year, Star Wars Night is coming to Joe Davis Stadium for Huntsville City Football Club's match against the New York Red Bulls second team. Hopefully, the Force will be on Huntsville's side tomorrow night. But a few days ago, I interviewed Chad Emerson. He is the Managing Director of Business Operations and Jedi with HCFC. And let's take a listen to what he had to say about the event.
Yeah, this is actually our very first Star Wars night. This year we talk about, in addition to the excitement of a soccer match, what else can we do to draw fans that they're going to connect with the experience? And Star Wars was one of those opportunities. So, while the players won't be using lightsabers, obviously, we're still going to have a lot of elements of Star Wars, whether it be music, whether it be visuals on the Jumbotron. There may be even there will be some characters there, encouraging fans to dress up. So we really want them to enjoy the match. We got our fingers crossed that the boys in blue win again. But regardless of what happens, they've had an opportunity, an evening to enjoy and relive their Star Wars memories.
Sounds like that is going to be an incredible time. So anyone who is a Star Wars or soccer fan, you are definitely in luck this weekend. Hopefully the weather holds up so that Huntsville City FC can play that game. So definitely rooting for the weather to hold up. But and also, if you didn't know already, you can find all of those 48 Now interviews on our website. Just go to WAFF.com. It will be the WAFF 48 Digital Shows section, and then you can find every single 48 Now interview on that 48 Now section of our website. So any of these interviews, you can watch the full version of them. Just go to WAFF.com. Now, let's head into the stories you're just not going to want to miss in our evening newscasts. You all know it is Friday, so that means Kitchen Cops is back. Make sure you catch the latest Kitchen Cop scores from around the Tennessee Valley tonight in our evening newscast, as well as online. You can find them online. Super interesting stuff. I will just say the headline. This is just a headline, but a cockroach was found in a popular food chain here in the South. And that's all I'm going to say. So make sure you check out the latest Kitchen Cop scores. Now, another story you're just not going to want to miss, a story about Huntsville City Schools now implementing a device that allows teachers to understand over 40 different languages. 48's Callie Neese will be bringing you that story, and that is certainly a story you're just not going to want to miss in our evening newscast. And finally, another story you're just not going to want to miss, the details of a Crepe Myrtle Festival coming to Ardmore this weekend. So for any of my plant lovers, my tree lovers, the Crepe Myrtle Festival might be something you're going to want to check out. It is in Ardmore this weekend. But these are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss in our evening newscast. And like I said earlier, it is a First Alert weather day today. You're also not going to want to miss the First Alert forecast from 48 First Alert Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis for the latest he will have on the weather. A First Alert weather day issued for today and tomorrow due to some storms moving into the area on top of that high heat index. That is never a good mix. But make sure you stick around for the latest Brad will have for you all coming up. Now, I believe it is time for Facebook Fun. If you don't know what Facebook Fun is, well, you're about to find out. Let's pull up today's 48 Facebook question. So 48 News asked today, it's usually always midday, 11:45, I believe we asked today. Would you rather travel to the past or to the future? And I think I am the guy who wants to travel to the past. I love history, big history buff. There's a few decades I would like to go into the past and kind of just check out because you can't get experiences just from textbooks. But let's see what you all had to say. Roger Banks, he said he would like to travel into the future over the next few hundred years, or just so he can see the changes in technology. Well, that's super cool. Nothing wrong with that. I'm sure a lot has changed within the next few hundred years. So Roger, if you do that, let me know how much the technology has changed. But Roger, thank you so much for commenting. Let's see what else y'all said. Erica Nixon, she said traveling to the past would be amazing. Yeah, I think it would be a super fun time to travel to the past and relive history firsthand. I think that would be kind of cool to see. But Erica, thank you so much for commenting. Missy said, I am still traveling in the present. Hey, that's a good way to live life too. You know, you're not thinking about the past, you're not thinking about the future. I'm just here living in the present. Missy, nothing wrong with that at all. Thank you for commenting. And Michael West said he wants to travel to the future one day at a time. And nothing wrong with that. That's what we're all doing each and every day. We're traveling to the future one day at a time. Michael, thank you so much for commenting. And for anyone who commented on our Facebook question today, thank you so much for commenting. And I see Bill Hamlin, he commented on Before the Four today on Facebook. I haven't checked the YouTube comments yet. But Bill Hamlin said he loves 48, best weather team. Gotta agree with you there. Bill, thank you so much for commenting. And he also asked if it's possible to build more water. I don't have an answer for you there, Bill, but I appreciate your curiosity. But Bill, thank you so much for commenting. Thank you for spending little of your Friday afternoon here with me on Before the Four. But speaking of which, that is just about all the time I have in today's Before the Four. But like I said earlier, I want to thank you all for sticking around with me, spending a little of your Friday afternoon with me. If you haven't done so already, make sure you download the 48 digital app, the 48 First Alert Weather app, and the 48 Sports Zone app. Y'all, we are 1 week away from week 0 of the high school football season. So if any local sports fans, local football fans are watching right now, next week is game week. Make sure you download the 48 Sports Zone app for all sports content. It's going to get exciting. I am certainly excited about it. But also download the 48 First Alert Weather app and the 48 digital app. Turn on the push notifications and get the breaking news delivered directly to you. But with that said, I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Do something fun this weekend and enjoy tonight's newscast. But with that said, that's all I have for you all today. But of course, I want to thank you for watching. You all have a great night and weekend.